What's something that made you angrier than you have ever been? When I was 12, my mom married Richard, a pediatric surgeon who seemed perfect on paper. He moved us into his massive house, bought me the latest iPhone, and always bragged about having a stepson. I remember thinking how lucky I was, especially when he'd take me to his hospital and let me shadow him while he worked with kids. But everything changed when my little brother Tommy was born. Richard became obsessed with making Tommy a medical prodigy. He'd force him to study anatomy flashcards instead of playing with toys. By age 4, Tommy could name every bone in the human body, but he'd never been to a playground. I started noticing bruises on Tommy's arms. When I asked, Richard said they were from training exercises to steady his hands for surgery. He'd make Tommy practice sutures on oranges for hours, squeezing his wrist until it bruised if his stitches weren't perfect. My mom worked night shifts as a nurse, so she rarely saw what happened. When I told her, Richard convinced her I was jealous of Tommy's special education. He even showed her videos of Tommy perfectly reciting medical terms, saying, "See, he loves learning." One night, I heard Tommy crying in the study. I found Richard forcing him to memorize surgical procedures, slapping his face each time he made a mistake. Tommy was shaking, holding an ice pack to his cheek. That's when I started recording everything on my phone. For 3 months, I gathered evidence. Videos of Richard screaming at Tommy for mispronouncing medical terms, photos of bruises, audio of Tommy begging not to do more training. I even caught Richard threatening to break Tommy's fingers if he didn't complete his practice sutures. The worst was when Tommy got a B+ on his kindergarten science test. Richard locked him in the basement medical lab for hours, making him practice procedures on mannequins until his hands bled. I recorded Tommy's screams and Richard yelling, "No son of mine will be mediocre!" I tried showing my mom the evidence, but Richard had convinced her I was trying to ruin their marriage. He even started telling people I was mentally unstable, jealous of my gifted brother. Some nights, I'd hold Tommy while he cried, promising I'd find a way to stop it. The breaking point came when Tommy turned 5. Richard bought him a real surgical kit and demanded he practice on our family dog. Tommy refused, so Richard grabbed his arm so hard it snapped. I heard the crack from upstairs. Richard rushed Tommy to his hospital, telling everyone he fell down the stairs. But this time, I was ready. I sent all my evidence to every doctor in the pediatric department, the hospital board, and CPS. I included timestamps, dates, and medical records I'd stolen from Richard's office, showing he'd been treating Tommy's injuries himself to avoid questions. The next day, police officers showed up during one of Richard's surgeries. They arrested him right in the operating room, still wearing his scrubs. Turns out he'd done this before. His first wife had taken their kids and disappeared, but no one believed her stories about the respected surgeon. My mom finally saw the truth when they showed her my evidence. She broke down completely, realizing she'd let this happen. She quit her job, moved us across the country, and got Tommy into therapy. He's 13 now and wants to be an art teacher. He hasn't touched a medical textbook since.